What we're going to do now is we're going to examine a problem. And we're going to start to pull out some of the features and components and elements of a potential solution for this problem. Now, we're not actually interested in defining the solution. We're more interested in pulling apart the problem and seeing what the problem tells us we need to do. So we're going to consider a problem that we looked at earlier, which is ocean conditions. So we've got ocean wave data being collected regularly by the Queensland Government. Now, monitoring wave movements could help meteorologists identify conditions that could endanger lives or damage property. And we need to supplement the existing warning systems, and we're required to build a new web application that updates recently transmitted wave data sets to the central database, automatically analyzes the data using pre-programmed algorithm, and generates an area-specific warning signal or message registered users if appropriate. Now, we also we thought about this a little bit, and we considered the public, the meteorologists, and the business owners as our users. We considered what their needs were, and we also went through and worked out the impacts that this solution could have. So we have a bit of an idea about this particular problem. So what we're going to do now is pull out some features. And this is just kind of a brainstorming session. Well, we pull out the big things, and when we pull out the big things, then we can kind of define things a little bit. And we'll just see how far we get. So this is just an introduction to this process, and later on in the course, we will go through this process again to a greater level of depth and detail. Okay, so let's have a look. We've got ocean wave data collected regularly by the Queensland Government. Okay, so we've got some type of client, okay, who's the Queensland Government. We're monitoring wave movements to help meteorologists identify conditions that could endanger lives or damage property. So what we're really thinking about here is we really have the users that we identified. They're part of the problem. And we had the public, and we had the meteorologists, and we also had the shop owners, the store owners, the business people. So they're also part of the problem, because we're just kind of trying to define the problem. Now, to supplement existing warning systems, we're required to build a new web application. Okay, so I'm just going to make a note that it has to be a web application. So that might have some things that we need to think about associated with it. Now, our web application must update recently transmitted wave datasets to a central database quickly and easily. So we're going to have something in our system that transmits data to a database. There's going to have to be some feature of the system that does that. It has to get the data and transmit and store it. It has to do something. Automatically analyzes the data using a pre-programmed algorithm. So we're going to have some type of feature or in our system when we analyze data analysis. Got no idea what that looks like. It doesn't matter at the moment. It's irrelevant. The actual mechanics that are implemented. We're just drawing big, broad brushstrokes. Okay, now we're going to generate an area-specific warning signal or message registered users if appropriate. So we're going to have some type of, as a result of the data analysis, we're going to have some type of, I guess, warning system. Or we'll call it an alert system. Now, what does the alert system do? It sends out like a published alert. And it also sends out text messages to registered users. Okay, so I've kind of started to break down the problem. I've got these different features and these different things that are connected to the problem. So maybe I can go and break down this information a little bit more in depth and see if there's anything else here that I know that I can use to analyze this particular system. Okay, so let's have a bit of a look. Where shall we start? I guess we can start over here. We've got to transmit data to the database. Okay, so I guess we need to have some type of data format So, like, is it going to be a text file that we're sending or a CSV? So, there has to be some type of data format. It needs to be has some type of there needs to be a database. So we need some way of inserting into the database. That's why we need some way of reading from the database. We'll worry about those things more in detail in Unit 2. So we're just kind of mentioning them for now. What else do we need? Data analysis. Now this was an algorithm. Now what am I going to... What type of alerts? What type of analysis is it going to do? So I guess I'm getting wave height data. So I need to maybe do some type of comparison against historical data. I don't know. Or maybe there's some type of compare wave height against some type of standard. So if the waves are over a certain height, then we issue this type of alert. So that might be sufficient, because I might be just after a simple system that says low danger, medium danger, high danger. So just kind of like a warning light system. Now the published alert, now that might be onto, say, the Bureau of Meteorology's website. It might be sent to the media for broadcast. To send text messages, I guess I need to have some type of phone system connection. I need a list of phone numbers. I probably need some type of pro forma or template messages to send. And I can just kind of fill in the data. What else could I do here? Okay, well, we're just kind of pulling this apart. So are there any other things I could break down? So I've got the feature, some components and some elements. Now, that might just do for now, because this is the first time we're thinking about problems like this. So we're not going to make it too hard for ourselves. I'll go over here, and our Queensland government, they're our client. I guess there's going to be some type of time frame. They're going to give us a time frame to develop this in. I suppose there's going to be some type of government standards to adhere to. Like, they might have some type of saying you must use these colors or something. It's going to be a web application, so that means we're going to need some type of domain hosting. So like a URL. I suppose we're going to be using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript as our programming languages. And I guess for this one, there'd have to be some type of database, but we're not worried about that too much at the moment. That's a future problem. Our users, well, we thought about our users. The users really, the public was all about needing personal safety, and they need possession security. And what else do we know about the public? They need early warnings so they can evacuate if required. Okay, then we had the meteorologists. And the meteorologists, they needed timely information. They are to produce the forecasts. So as well as the algorithm, maybe they check the results of the algorithm before publishing. So maybe we could tie them into the algorithm as some type of human check in the data analysis. So maybe right here, human checking. And maybe the human checking may be potentially for the higher levels of alerts. Okay. Now the shop owners, they need to protect the shop, their shop, and products. They need to protect customers. So it means they need to close, and they need as much time as possible. So now I've started to break down this problem, and I've got a bit more of an idea of how I might start to address this problem now. So if I look at this, I can kind of just start to see. I don't have a full picture in my head of what it's going to look like, but I can start to kind of see what's going on here. So what else is going on? So if I'm going, so I can start asking questions. If I'm sending text messages, well, I guess there needs to be some type of registration process. In the registration process, the users enter data. So we'll call this registration process. So user registration process. And they're going to need to put in, say, a phone number, a mobile number, maybe a name, an address. So we can know who they are. There needs to be some type of, I guess, verification here. So they can't just put some random phone number and they just put their phone number and they get a verification message which they have to reply to, like an authentication message. Text messages. So against this wafer against standard, so we're going to need some type of set levels. So we might be talking like a yellow, an orange, and a red alert. So we need some type of standard to be set for us. What else? Phone service connection. So it's obviously going to be mobile phone, computer type thing. So we can just start to get an idea how the system might work now. So it might be the users go in and they have some type of registration system. And once they've registered, they get verified. The system gets data from the waves and it's get put in our database. Once it's in the database, it runs some type of algorithm. The algorithm has some type of check that says if I have a low warning, say a yellow warning, it just transmits it anyway. But if there's a higher alert, like an orange or a red, it gets checked by the meteorologist before it gets sent out. And the system automatically sends it by text message to the users and by some type of published alert to the media or the bomb website. And so I've got this idea in my head how it works. And I know I'm going to need some type of different interfaces. I'm going to need a certain interface for the users to register. So that's all the public's going to see. So I could actually just start breaking this down. And even further if I wanted, and start writing down the things that are going to be needed to be on those different interfaces. So I'm going to have an interface where the users register, some type of processing in the back end, an interface for the meteorologists where it tells them a list of all the messages that have been sent, and then another interface for the meteorologist that tells them what the data is and what it's based on before it sends out a high-level alert. So by breaking down the problem, I've got some of the features and it's allowed me to work out the components, and now I've got down some of the elements. Now I could actually take this to a much deeper level, but this is just the first time we've actually broken down a problem. So we're just going to leave it here, and we're going to come back to this type of process later on, and we're going to go through it in a little more depth as we investigate a bigger problem from start of problem through to completion.